are a few basic ways to use flip charts in your Promethean board in a classroom. The first use is to set the environment of the classroom, to use it for direct instruction, and for assessments, both informal and formal. To set your environment is simply setting a tone when students walk into your room about what the expectations are, what they need to complete, and maybe a time limit on what they need to do. This example welcomes students in the morning, gives them directions on what to do, and it even has calming music that you could play in the background to set the tone. Another option would be to have homework instructions, an activity, and a countdown timer to tell the students how much time they have left to complete all these things before you start in class. And once again, you can have morning music. Another morning welcome flip chart is what homework they need to write down and complete for that day. You could simply reuse this over and over, just changing the directions and the date. The second use for Promethean boards is direct instruction. So here you could have directions on what skill you're teaching. And for this flip chart, you might have a skill for each day, and you rotate kids through groups. You could also do instructions for each subject area. So for this one is directions for reader's workshop with a built-in activity. And then you could simply write in the rest or type in the rest for the other subject areas. When you're doing direct instruction, you can make activities that go along with what you're teaching, so students can visualize the skills that they're needing to learn. For this example, you're teaching values with icons of base 10 blocks built into Active Inspire. And as you go through, there are activities to do along the way. You can have students come to the board and do this, and you can also use it as a student center for independent learning later as you rotate kids through the classroom. You can also combine other elements that we have at our disposal. So not only do we have some questions with answers that you could use the active expressions for, you also have links built in where you can use Brain Pop. So in this example, it links directly to a Brain Pop video that has to do with fractions. Then you can jump back to your flip chart and do other skills. These are actually links to games that are available on the web. Here there are activities within the flip chart to do at the board, or students could come up and do these as individual groups. It's simply a way to pace your instruction using the other technology resources that we have at our disposal. You can also create things that have instructions built in, what they're going to do, and then actual ways for them to practice. This individual flip chart would be a standalone student center that students could rotate through. You'd simply erase all the writing that students do on the board. You can also get creative and create games that you can do as a class or as a small group center. These are more advanced things that you may want to work towards. You can also do direct instruction with things at their students' seats. This, for example, is an article taken at a low-level reading from Achieve 3000. What teachers can model at the board is using the highlighter tool. Practice finding the main idea with supporting information. So the main idea of this article may be that it's about the iPad's cost. Then you can compare it to main ideas of how you come up with the idea using the article as your text. And you can build different kinds of graphic organizers in a flip chart. This particular flip chart has 3 versions of the article depending on how high of a reading level your students might need. So this would be another level, and this would be one of the highest levels. The skills you're applying are the same. Flip charts can also be used with PDFs that are imported. So you basically make an electronic worksheet. And you could do the problems just as you would do on paper. And you could have the students follow you as you do it on the board. Or have the students do the work independently and come up and show their answers on the board and how they got to the answer. You can also import PowerPoints if you're more comfortable with creating them there and then importing them into a flip chart to manipulate even further. You can also use Promethean boards to show things that are just generally on the web, anything that you do on the computer. So you could play a Brain Pop video, you could go to achieve.com and pull up an example article to demonstrate reading strategies, or you can go to Go Math and play the video on the board for the whole class during instruction. You can also use Ladybugs to show non-digital resources like books, worksheets, or hands-on activities. And lastly, you can use Promethean boards for assessment with Active Inspire. So you can ask on-the-fly questions with your express poll. So for this worksheet, you may ask an exact answer to the question, or maybe you'll do a Likert scale to see how well students are getting this concept. You can also build in assessments and do self-paced quizzes with the active expressions. So this flip chart is simply one page with questions built in. So I have given them 50 questions with a 20-minute limit to see how fast they can do. You can also set if you do a correct or incorrect answer. And if a student was absent for the day and couldn't do a clicker assessment, you can always print it out on paper to do on that form. So in order to use your Promethean board, you can use it to set your environment, have a calm, soothing entrance with directions and expectations of what you want students to do. You can use it for direct instruction, activities, and other digital resources on the board for a group setting. And you can use it for assessments.